Well, everyone, we finally reached this point. We're past the midpoint of Doomsday Clock issue number 6 and 1 through 6, and now we're into Doomsday Clock issue number 7, which Jeff Johns and the DC company was promoting that this would be the event that changes everything. That we will finally understand what is making Dr. Manhattan so curious, why he's altered history, why he's removed certain people from history to create the New 52, arguably the worst reboot to happen until Star Wars was rebooted by the corporation known as Disney. And we all know how that's turning out for the fan community nowadays, right? So yeah, when we last left off, the Joker and Mine and Marionette went ahead and were basically going to prepare to capture the comedian and go ahead and interrogate him because they feel like, well, he's alive. Dr. Manhattan clearly had something to do with this, so yeah, let's torture him. And we'll see that later. But before that, we also saw Rorschach number 2, aka Reggie Long, go ahead and rescue, what's his name again? Yeah, he's from the Justice Society, so I don't know how to answer that. He's from the Justice Society of America, the former Justice League that preceded the actual known Justice League that we're all familiar with. But because Dr. Manhattan has something to do with this whole stuff, they don't exist, and everyone was wondering why they are not in the New 52. Well, DC will say that it was Pandora, and then later Dr. Manhattan that caused all this. When in reality, it was probably because, they're kind of old, so, yeah, we want to get the old stuff out. That's probably their motivation. I wouldn't be surprised. So now we get to this voiceover narration in a blue background text, hint showcasing that it's the return of Dr. Manhattan. It's July 16th, 1940. A young engineer named Alan Scott is riding a train over a bridge when it collapses. He miraculously survives by the clutching onto the Green Lantern. It's November 22nd, 1940. Alan is sitting at a round table wearing a mask, waiting to see who will speak first. It's January 8th, 1950. Alan testifies before the House of an Un-American Activities Committee. He refuses to implicate anyone in his employ. Oh, so you're going over the whole Alan Scott backstory. Okay, so what does this have to do with you revealing what you did? And then we get the dialogue that says what he did, that alters all of history, that makes me say, why? It's July 16th, 1940. A young engineer named Alan Scott is riding a train over a bridge when it collapses. I move the lantern 6 inches out of his reach. Alan Scott dies when the bridge falls. He leaves behind no family. Your confusing thesis, Dr. Manhattan, has captured my attention. Do go on. So, you murdered him. Because that's what it says. You murdered Alan Scott. No way to put it, you murdered him. Why? I'm curious to know. Like, we gotta get an answer about why did he murder Alan Scott and stop the Justice Society from ever forming and thus ridding the world of hope, but that doesn't explain why Jay Garrick was taken. And when I was doing some research on the build-up to Doomsday Clock, we learned that Superman's father survived Krypton's explosion and Dr. Manhattan took him. Yeah. And like, then we learned that there were other factors, like maybe Wally West's kids were taken. So, yeah, that means, how do I point this out? That's not explained yet. And then he continues to go over the talking of the mystical lantern of the Green Lantern, of how it's prophecy saying that how he will first grant to bring death, then the second to bring life, and then the third to bring power. And then Dr. Manhattan goes into the narration explaining what the heck was it trying to say. One causes basically the plague in the Song Dynasty era when some guy finds it and converts it into a magical lantern. Or lamp, I mean. And then in 1940, we move forward, and some guy gets his legs back and is able to walk again. Yeah. Or he was cured by something, but yeah, he sells the lantern, and then he goes on his way to a train, and then, as we all know, Dr. Manhattan decides to murder Alan Scott because I don't know. And then he says this: "It's January 1950. I am standing on Alan Scott's grave. It's November 1940. My fingers draw lines in the dust on an empty round table. Last December, the lantern is discarded into a scrap heap. 2 hours later, Johnny Thunder finds the lantern in a burned-down factory. 145 minutes from now, the lantern's green fire erupts with power. 17 minutes later, I step off the checkboard floor and onto the surface of Mars. 1 month into my future, I see nothing." Okay, so he's doing the perception of time ability. And then he says this, to end this narration: "It's 1985. I leave my world for this one." And thus we go ahead and go back to Johnny Thunder, talking about the lantern, and Rorschach, and talking about, and with Saturn Girl, and they're discussing stuff about how the light's going ahead and how he's friends with a genie, Johnny Thunder is, and then Night Owl shows up. The Night Owl ship shows up, led by Ozymandias and Adrian Veidt, as he's known, and yeah, and then we get more of the whole decaying of the world, decay, with the whole super meta arms race and the meta-human arms race. Yeah, it turns out Japan, Australia have also entered this race at the end of Doomsday Clock issue number 6. So, yeah, way to go on that. And, yeah. And then we get more press showings and whatnot, like how a bunch of refugees went to Markovia, then disappeared, and then there's the whole Black Adam stuff. And then we also get Firestorm going ahead saying this, and this is when I start to realize what it's trying to basically say. I knew what it was saying. They showed it in the first issue with the past, like make America safe again and whatnot, and how they called the people, and how Rorschach calls the people undeplorables. You know, something that Hillary Clinton said. And then, yeah, they go there. Firestorm says, whether Typhoon was part of this fake news theory or not, I don't even know, and I don't give a shit. Alright? Now stop following me around! Subtle. So, yeah, they're going ahead. This chapter is referred to as Blind Spot, and basically Adrian Veidt and Rorschach Reggie Long is talking, and yeah, Saturn Girl goes ahead and says she's from the 30th century, and Adrian Veidt, and then Rorschach says, yeah, I didn't mention, yeah, she didn't mention that last part, and Adrian Veidt just asks, where did you find her? And Rorschach just remains silent for a second and just says, Arkham Asylum. And Adrian Veidt just basically sighs and says, of course you did. And then we also get more press screenings showing Superman being basically the only trusted superhero left in the world, because, and this is legitimately making sense, Superman doesn't come from Earth. He's from Krypton, and he has very been open about his past regarding Kryptonian history and how he's an alien. So the government of the world, okay, he's not really Earth, so he's not a citizen of any country. Like, he may have a secret identity somewhere, but he's really an alien. So yeah, we'll accept him. We'll let him cross borders without any retribution, because that's what is mentioned in it's part of the librarian government. And yeah, and then there's a mention about the Chinese president being interrogated in a dream. Yeah, yeah, this is just awkward. So Adrian Veidt continues these conversations, and Saturn Girl goes ahead. In fact, Saturn Girl mentions how she's been sent on this mission by as an intergalactic representative of the Legion of Superheroes, sent to here clear a time stream of an unknown anomaly that threatens him. So basically, Dr. Manhattan. Except Dr. Manhattan is going to most likely kick her ass by just standing there and waving his hand, and then she'll explode. And then Rorschach just says, "Yeah, I'm kind of reconsidering me bringing them with us." And Veidt just says, "I would imagine." And then all of a sudden, he starts pounding his head due to the cancer he's having, and Veidt starts to doubt the plan, but then Rorschach too goes in and mentions his father, Malcolm Long, saying his father believed in best outcome until end was going to save Kovac from himself. Never gave into dark thoughts. Don't give up. And I'm thinking, wait, he's never mentioned his dad since this issue began, besides the flashbacks. Okay, where's this going? That's just clearly a plot point. And we know what happened to Malcolm Long, which means Reggie has no knowledge of what happened, which we did know in the issue when they were going into his past. So, yeah, this is not going to end well, most likely. Also, Veidt's cat starts to glow blue. Yeah, remember how his former mutated cat went ahead and got destroyed with Dr. Manhattan? Yeah, it turns out at the end of this issue it's revealed that he's a clone made up of the remaining DNA substance of his dead cat that was destroyed in the conflict with Dr. Manhattan. So, yeah, apparently the cat has some connection with Dr. Manhattan since they went through that device that made Dr. Manhattan. And that always led me to questioning a plot hole on this. It's something that kind of bugs me. In the world of the Watchmen, why do they not replicate the accident? Yeah, that's the one thing that kept bugging me. Why don't they ever replicate the accident? Like, they have a god walking among them. You would think the U.S. government, and since the world is this dark, shady place, they would try and replicate this. But no, they don't ever try and do it again because nukes were better than super godly powers that could create all forms of life. Yeah, that's still, like, did some people destroy it or something? So yeah, Adrian Veidt reveals that yes, this is why the cat's the compass, because it's connected to Dr. Manhattan. And apparently it's getting this strange scent of power from the lantern. Well, considering Dr. Manhattan did use it to murder Alan Scott to an extent, yeah, I can believe that. And yeah. So yeah, they start going over what happened in the previous issues. I mentioned the comedian going ahead, and yeah. And Veidt smiles, and then we transition over to the Joker, all smiley about preparing to torture the comedian, Eddie Blake, and Batman is still chained up. Why? You would think this is Batman. I kept joking to myself, okay, this is Batman. He has to have like 50 scenarios about how this is going to go out. Like, he has 50 scenarios how he's going to get out of those chains. One of them probably being a space-time continuum anomaly that will destroy that will cause a paradox and destroy the very fabric of the universe. Granted, that's our worst-case scenario. The threat and danger may be very localized merely to nearly our own galaxy. Yes, I went there. And then they decide to choose, and Mine and Marionette decide to make out using a drill. And the Joker repulses in disgust and doesn't like the sincerity and whatnot. Well, considering his relationship with Harley Quinn ended in a horrible disaster, I can actually understand why he thinks that. And if you add in the continuity of the Killing Joke, then yeah, that's also another reason Joker even remembers that. So, yeah. And, yeah, Adrian Yeah, they proceed to torture Eddie Blake and whatnot. And yeah, apparently there might have been a falling out between the comedian Dr. Manhattan because he refers to Dr. Manhattan as an a-hole. And then Mime goes ahead and points out that, yeah, Batman's up somehow. And Joker just says that he wished he had some popcorn. Mime and Marionette go ahead and fight Batman. And Batman kicks Marionette in the stomach. That's going to be important later when I bring that up again. Mime goes in and points his invisible guns and tries to shoot him. And Joker just laughs maniacally, saying he didn't see that coming, which was funny. And the cat starts to growl more and pick up the trail, growing stronger. And then White goes in and tells Johnny Thunder and Saturn Girl to stay behind, saying that they're going to have to do something. Saying, yeah. Thinking that they're going to be in danger. As such, he tells Johnny Thunder to go ahead and give him the lantern for a second, but yeah, after Sandgirl reassures him that it's going to be okay, you'll find the Thunderbolt again, it's history, he proceeds to give Adrian Veidt the lantern, and in a shot that probably should not have been drawn in a way, Adrian Veidt looks at the lantern like he's going to do something with it, as in, I'm evil. Batman continues fighting Mime and Marionette. Batman almost getting chopped off in the head because of Batman tries to lock it, but then it's revealed. But then it's, yeah. Remember, Batman is basically fighting someone who has strings that can rip flesh and decapitate people. So it's cutting into his wrists. So he might not be Batman for much longer. And then Joker fires a flamethrower under his crotch. That was lovely. And Eddie Blake is just like just glaring at everything like, my God, what am I even doing here? Rorschach arrives and Batman admits that he was wrong about him. Wow, Batman admits he's wrong on something. The end is nigh. Please panic. We're all gonna die. Well, considering in the DC universe that it is reaching the end game, since there's the whole war about to happen, yeah, I can actually believe it. And then Adrian Veidt says that Batman was wrong about a lot of things, everything maybe, and then basically says that it's now time and whatnot. And yeah, it's gonna go crazy. Adrian Veidt begins to use the cat on the lantern, transferring energy back and forth to it, with Adrian Veidt screaming, "Where are you, John? Show yourself! I can make this hurt more than it does!" And then a blue orbis light, and Adrian Veidt smiles with evil cackling glee when this light appears, and then we witness the return of Dr. Manhattan, with everyone of the Watchmen universe freaking out, except for Adrian Veidt. He just says, "Hello, John." And Batman just says, "I know who you are." And then Dr. Manhattan looks at Batman, I think, and Joker freaks out, saying, "Whoever you are, put on some clothes for God's sake. Or at least for mine." And Adrian Veidt, then everyone sees Dr. Manhattan tracing a circle around the checkered floor and teleports them after Adrian Veidt says he wants to talk, leaving Batman and Joker behind to discuss their current status in their relationship regarding their evil-doing crime fightings against each other. So Adrian, and then we get the last half of this story is basically this basically massive discussion scene where Adrian Veidt basically explains how he's fucked up, the world's gonna end, and you're the only one who can save it. And Dr. Manhattan just says, "I'm not coming back. I'm not going back. I'm in the middle of something. You're thinking I've once again turned my back on humanity. That's why you asked Laurie to come with you to remind me. She refused. But she led you to them. Erica Manson and Marcos Mez. I'm at a Rockefeller with Laurie, listening to her complain about the security cameras installed in our living quarters. As I remove them, I'm told there's a bank robbery in progress 1 mile away. I arrive to dispatch the criminals. You believe I'm hesitant to use extreme force when I learn that Erica Manson is pregnant. But I did not spare you because you were pregnant, Erica Manson. I saw what your child would do, and I chose to save him. And then she proceeds to scream, demanding what happened to their child. And then Dr. Manhattan just says, which child? And then she just screams, what the hell is he talking about? And then Dr. Manhattan just says, ah yes, sometimes I forget what's been and what will be. You're pregnant again. And then she proceeds to say, wait, what? And then they go ahead and hug. He and Mind and Marionette hug. However, Adrian Veidt doesn't care about any of this. He's trying to convince John to go ahead and basically come to your senses, man. And Dr. Mann just says, your pleading will not change my mind, Adrian. I'm disappointed in you. I was, I am, and I will be. And then Rorschach, and then while the comedian goes ahead and bitches more, say, someone come on, untie me, John! Rorschach too tries to convince Dr. Manhattan that he's dying of cancer and whatnot. Dr. Manhattan tilts his head up, looks at Adrian Veidt, and then proclaims a surprising plot twist. Adrian does not have cancer. Much to Adrian's anger, because his face looked like in this little panel, that he's having a constipation attitude. Then Rorschach Reggie Long says, no, look again. He's sick. And then Agent Veidt, showing that he's clearly hiding something, let me talk to John, Rorschach. He's only confusing you. And Rorschach just says, no, you have cancer. Rorschach, hold on. You have cancer! And then Dr. Manhattan just says, as we hover here, you tell him the truth, Adrian, because you know I will. And then Adrian reveals that he never had cancer. And Rorschach in shock says, why would he lie? And Adrian Veidt reveals that he just used him because he needed his help, and then just goes ahead and tilts his head like a psychopath, saying, oh, Reggie, you see what you want to see. And what you wanted to see, what you needed to, was that the man responsible for the death of your parents and the madness that afflicted you was overcome with regret and remorse. I knew everything about you before you stepped a foot into that room. And I needed someone like you, Reggie. And Reggie proceeds to try and strangle him by saying, stop calling me Reggie. I am Rorschach. Rorschach, please. You saw what you wanted to see with Rorschach too. You believed you were taking up the mask of a friend of your father's. But Walter Kovacs was never your father's friend. If Byron Lewis hadn't kept most of your father's notes from you, you would have seen that. Byron was trying to protect you from the truth. That Rorschach broke down your father's undying positivity and left him a shell of the man he was. His relationship with your mother deteriorated into nothingness. She left him, Reggie. Your mother and father did not die in a loving embrace. They died despising one another, alone. Rorschach denies this, saying, no, is it true? Is it? And Dr. Manhattan confirms it is. And then they ask the obvious question that needs to be asked when they're teleported to a riot going on in DC. Don't worry, it's probably because of another tweeting post that the president made again. I wonder who's the president of the DC universe to cause all this. It can't be you-know-who for a variety of reasons, because one, DC will get in trouble, he will complain on Twitter, so I'm just making that joke because he will make a complaint on Twitter if he wasn't mentioned that whatsoever. So Dr. Manhattan says that he only came here to find a place among them, but then something happened as he looked forward and saw a vision of the most hopeful among them heading toward him, now hopeless, and then I saw nothing. What? Let's see if I get this straight. You were hoping... So, let's see if I get this straight. You were hoping in some way that due to this DC universe, you would live among them. You would find something among them. So your plan was to kill Alan Scott for some reason, alter history, give us the worst reboot to happen up until Star Wars was rebooted by Disney, and somehow this would make you emerge on top of being accepted among gods? Yeah. And then we go ahead and see that they went back in time to another universe, I think, where in a theater where they see people freaking out when they pop out of nowhere, where Dr. Manhattan says this, where Adrian Veidt says this: "What are you saying, John? That your visions end? Who did you see? Why bring us here?" And then the comedian brings up the obvious question of where the hell is here? And Dr. Manhattan just answers the Revival Theater in Hollywood, playing a midnight showing of Carver Coleman's last film, The Adjournment. It's April 1954. I stand on the set and watch. It's June. I see Carver Coleman's body on the floor, his head caved in. Carver Coleman was once full of hope too. But I was wrong, Adrian. Everything ends. Adrian asked the obvious question of what the hell is he even talking about and what does this have to do with anything? Then Dr. Manhattan just shrugs it off and says, "We've talked enough. Goodbye." Thus, he teleports them back to the Joker hideout, and Adrian Veidt says they have to call him back, they have to try and make him listen to reason, and then Rorschach and Reggie Long in his rage kicks Adrian Veidt in the skull, saying, "Listen to me," and "Why can't you leave me alone?" And Mighty Marionette says that they're taking the lantern by saying they're going to borrow it, and Rorschach prepares to try and kill Adrian Veidt, with Adrian Veidt still mocking him, saying, "You're still wearing the mask of the man who destroyed your father." And Joker just laughs, saying, "Whatever was missed was a doozy." And Batman just says, "That's enough, Joker." "Joker, you're embarrassing me!" And then Joker saying and what could be described as a very disturbing fantasy for Batman in his relationship with the Joker, saying this, when Joker shocks him and says, "Hush now, Daddy's speaking." I'm just making jokes on this, but like, Batman is considered the world's smartest man besides Lex Luthor, and he's getting his ass kicked to him like several times in this comic. All while this goes on, Reggie tries to kill Adrian Veidt, blood splattering on his face, and then the Joker, being very stupid for once, decides to say, "A little constructive criticism, if I may." And then Rorschach just grabs Joker's face. It actually looks like he pulled his face down, clenching it so tightly, and proceeds to beat the living snot out of the Joker, screaming, "Don't touch me." And then comedians just cheering, saying, "Get the freak!" And then Mighty Marionette just say, "We're not done with you yet, Blake. Let's go celebrate, lover. We're having a baby." And then Joker just laughs and mocks him, saying, "Did you enjoy that as much as I did?" Then traces a smile on Rorschach's face, and then Rorschach, looking at himself, says, "Dead. Rorschach is dead." And proceeds to take off the mask. Back at the Night Owl ship, Saturn Girl and Johnny Thunder are wondering what the hell's going on, and then when Adrian Veidt returns, he then says that he learned a few things the hard way, and then Saturn Girl reads his thoughts and realizes he has something planned, and Adrian Veidt punches her and knocks her out, then kicks Johnny Thunder in the face, and says, "John refuses the call, but with the knowledge I have now, I realize I can save more than our world. I can save this one too. I can save everything and everybody. I have a plan." Well, the last plan you had in two different universes of the Watchmen, your first plan was to go ahead and have a giant tentacle monster squid blow up the entire city and basically psychiatrically kill everybody and horribly scar them for life. And then in the second universe in the film, you go ahead and planted massive nuclear bombs made out of Dr. Manhattan's energy signature. yeah, I don't think your plan's gonna work out so well. Then we get another close. Then the comic comes to an end. So then the comic begins to close out when we see all this bad stuff going on more so, where Rorschach's mask is on the floor, Black Adam's going crazy and attacking Jerusalem. Yeah, that's gonna cheer everybody up. Batman takes the mask of Rorschach while Reggie Long looks somewhere and plants something in the mail, delivered to Lois Lane. And all this going on, the news reporters are freaking out, and yeah, everything's gone to hell. And then Dr. Manhattan returns to Mars, as he narrates one last time as this movie goes ahead and says, Mark, are you there? And then it says here, 2 men were playing chess, none came out alive. Dr. Manhattan's footsteps on the checkered board floor, and says this to close out the comic. To close out at least issue 7, I step off the checkerboard floor and onto the surface of Mars. I'm overcome with curiosity for the first time since 1959. 1 month in my future, I see Superman. He's yelling at me, though I'm deafened by the thunder from the world falling apart around us. His eyes burn with anger as he throws his fist forward. Then I see nothing. A year, a century, a millennium, still nothing. I do not see tomorrow. And I wonder, 1 month from now, does Superman destroy me? Or do I destroy everything? And so our comic ends with the whole reveal of the photo between him back before he turned into Dr. Manhattan and his former girlfriend before they went ahead and had a falling out when Dr. Manhattan became a dick. Metaphorically speaking. Seeing is believing is a blind spot in man's vision. So that was Doomsday issue number 7, and those were my thoughts. So let's see if I get this straight. Dr. Manhattan murdered Alan Scott, no idea why. The Justice Society, no idea why. Jay Garrick's disappearance in the Speed Force, no idea why. Martian Manhunter's disappearance, never explained. Shazam, never explained. No idea what happened to all these people. Why take these people? Is he preparing something? Is he starting a war? Never explained. I was hoping we would get some answers onto this, but instead I'm left with more questions, which means I have to wait for another 2 months before the next issue, and that really frustrates me. And like I said, at the end of the comic, Adrian Veidt has a file given to... There's a file stuff sequence where it talks about Adrian Veidt's cat's death, and then he talks about how he's cloning a new one. Also, when you realize about Marionette getting pregnant again by Mime, yeah, Batman kicked a pregnant woman. Way to go. Bat dick. Okay, I'll give him credit. He didn't know she's pregnant, or else he probably would have held back. Though at the same time, this is New 52 Batman, and he did beat up his surrogate son, Jason Todd, up after, he's currently going through a breakup with Catwoman for possibly the final time after a marriage disaster, the curse of rock and roll or something like that, and some other stuff that went down in his life in the last 6 weeks. So, yeah. Also, Jeff Johns had explained that, yeah, DC's comics Doomsday Clock takes place a year after all the comics of the DC Rebirth. So anything that comes before or after or during this event is all taking place beforehand. So, yeah, and the events that lead into Doomsday Clock, the current state of the world, starts to bleed into the comics. So Superman recently went ahead in Action Comics was mentioning this sticker in the background, the sticky note saying, "What is the Superman theory?" So yeah, clearly they're building up to this, and I do believe Heroes in Crisis is a key component in this, how it starts to set the world up for this eventual horrendous state it's in. So I'll talk about Heroes in Crisis because I got something to say about that, and I have a theory about why I think Dr. Manhattan has something to do with all this. So you'll have to see when I make that video. I've already read it. I'm going to reread it in order to get a full bearing on everything that happened. So those were my thoughts on Doomsday Clock issue number 7. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to for more.